Hello, this is Jennetta Billhimer, and I am here with Leslie Householder. I'm so honored to be speaking with Leslie. She's made a big difference in my life, and she's written the books, um, um, Genius, Portal to Genius, The Jackrabbit Factor, and Hidden Treasures, and they are all fabulous books. Like you guys, you've got to read these books. These will change your life. She's the one that I have gone back to lately. I've known Leslie for a lot of years. Well, at least I have been reading her books for a lot of years, and I have been taking classes from her and all. She's just amazing. The one that I have been reading lately is Hidden Treasures, and just going back to that and just loving her wisdom. She has so much wisdom to share with the world. She's also she's created the mindset quotient test, and this is to assess the true principles that govern our success and how well we understand and apply those principles. So that's kind of like this is even more important than an IQ test and an EQ test. If you know and really quickly, also, she's a wife and mother of seven. Leslie she homeschooled for 9 years. She lives in Arizona. And um, she, today we're going to be talking about trusting your instincts in the homeschooling journey. So thank you, Leslie, so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks, Jeanette, for having me. This is an honor. I'm excited to talk about some of these things that really made a difference in my homeschooling journey and helping me have confidence and assurance in what felt so often like this great unknown adventure. Like you hoped that you weren't ruining your family, right?
Right.
Have you ever
It's like
felt
one of
that
the
way?
biggest things, isn't it? Because your kids are like one of the biggest things that not things, but like this is one of the biggest ventures that you ever do. And then to homeschool them, that's really stepping out um courageously, I think. And
Yeah. I just remember when I can think back to numerous times throughout those 9 years that we were homeschooling where I might have felt like we were in a good groove. They knew what they were needing to do, and I felt like things were in order. And that was very few and far between. Honestly, most of the time it was chaos. But it was a beautiful kind of chaos because we were responding to what their interests were, and we were responding to what we felt like was important for our family. And so,
it was
but in
okay,
those
right?
moments, yeah, but in those moments of terror when you're like, oh my word, I think I may have made a big mistake, or I don't know where to go from here. I can remember many times where I would just be like, um, one time I went on a drive just in tears, like, I know I need to do something for this one child. I have no idea what it is. I'm praying, help me to know what to do next. And I can look back on that moment. And I want to get right to one of my main points for our conversation today is um, I can look back on that moment, and what felt like everything was falling apart was kind of, there's a song that says things aren't falling apart, they're falling into place. And when I had those questions and those concerns and worries, and when I really applied myself to looking for answers to those questions, on the other side of that was always a glorious opening of some of the greatest experiences that we were able to have and the children were able to have. One of those, like I said, I was driving around just feeling so distraught, so confused, so uncertain about what to do for this one child that I drove aimlessly. It was at night. I'm just driving to clear my head and think, and honestly just didn't know where I was going, taking paths I'd never taken before. And finally, I just thought, I need to pull over and I need to ponder. I need to really go inward and think about what is best. And I pull over and I'm starting to think on this. And I look up, and right in front of me is a sign for a resource that was exactly the answer to the question that I was having. And I remember looking at that and I thought, I'm looking around and I'm in this remote place where there's like nothing anywhere, but right in front of me is a marquee, a sign with this resource. And I remember saying out loud to God, I believe in God. And I said, all right, I will look into that. And I came home and looked into it, and it became the greatest avenue for this child that I could have asked for. And so I look back on that and I can point to so many times where that kind of thing would happen, where I would come to a place of decision, a place of confusion or concern. And when I would take the time to go inward and really ponder and seek an inspired answer, from God, who is way wiser than I am, knowing my children even better than I do, I was always led to the right next step. But what I've learned over the years is that many times I've prayed for guidance, or I've sought inspiration, or activating that instinct, that mom's instinct, to help me know the right choice. And I was doing it wrong for many, many years. And I would come up empty, or I would come up with answers that I wasn't sure about. And I discovered over the years a formula that allowed me to access those kinds of answers on a dependable in a dependable way, where it wasn't just, oh, that's a great idea, but it was, I know this is right. And I can't put a price tag on that kind of confidence, especially when you're raising your kids. And so, Jennette, do you want me to share with you what that formula is?
I love that.
And I know that for maybe some of those watching this class today, maybe things are going great. Maybe you're already in a groove. Maybe you already know what you need to be doing. But your children aren't always going to have the same kind of confidence that you do. They're going to have decisions. We're trying to raise them to be responsible, contributing adults. And if you can teach them this skill, that is another really great skill to add to your repertoire that you pass on to them, that they take into their adulthood. So here's the formula. Number one, you need to know what the outcome is that you're desiring. Now, we may think, yeah, of course, I want things to go well. I want my kids to be happy. I want them to be smart. I want them to be responsible. And we kind of know that, and it's kind of assumed. But in order for this formula to work, you have to have real clarity on what you want the outcome to look like in that scenario, in that instance. So take the example of me worrying about my son and me driving around trying to clear my head and get some answers. I needed to pause and imagine him happy. I needed to see him in my mind's eye, feeling empowered, feeling capable, feeling successful. Maybe I see him with a smile on his face. Maybe I see him coming to me with some kind of report that says, Mom, look what I did. Or maybe I see him in his future as a husband and father and a family, operating in a very successful way. Maybe that's the vision that I have for my children. But before I ask the question, I need to get clarity around that. Jennette, you had a
And get
comment?
that clarity, yes. And I have used this so many times in my life where if I can get the vision of what I want, that it makes such a huge difference. And not that we can take away what others just decide to do, but we can really have our vision, and the way that we act with others can really, really make a huge difference in our interactions with them, and in our relationships. So if we fix or we figure out, what we want that a relationship to be like, there's so much that we can do to create that. And so I've used this principle so many times, just like the things that you've taught me over the years, um and
Well, oh,
yeah.
I just have to say how many times over, like, I remember hearing that for like 7 years as we were attending trainings and things, that, picture what you want and dream big and this kind of thing. And I remember hearing that and kind of dismissing it like, yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got that. but I didn't get it. And I didn't realize that I didn't get it. And I didn't get it
That
until I
happens
got it. And
over
then I
and
knew
over
I
again,
had
it
it.
seems like. At least for me.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
You got to be
And
able to
what it is,
see that, yes, it does make a difference. That this relationship has changed because of what what I've been doing. I can see that.
yeah. And here's why it's so important to have that vision. Um, like I said, I believe in God. I pray and I seek answers because I feel like He is way wiser than I am. But it used to be I would pray. I would say, Heavenly Father, please help us solve this problem. This is such a big problem. I'm so worried about what's going to happen if this problem isn't solved. I don't know what I'm going to do. Please help us with this problem. That was pretty much the format of those requests. Of course, I would try to have gratitude and everything else that I'd been taught to have, but things didn't really change. Things didn't really shift for me until I started applying this vision principle to my requests for guidance. And so pulling over to the side of the road, I imagine my son happy. It doesn't mean I'm going to make him happy. It doesn't mean that I have control over that. What it does mean is that it puts me in a place to be receptive to the inspired guidance that's available to me to do the right things that are within my control, like to create the best possible outcome, to make sure that I'm not the limiting factor in what is possible for him. Now, it'll still be up to him what he does with that, as always. But when I would stop and I would see him feeling relieved, or maybe me feeling relieved, like imagine myself that next Friday thinking, oh my word, I'm so glad we figured it out. I'm so glad we discovered the solution. I don't even have to know what the solution is, but I'm imagining on the screen of my mind that moment, and I'm allowing myself to feel that moment of relief. Like, I am so grateful we figured it out, and rehearsing that and allowing myself to feel that. Now that is activating that eye of faith that participates in miracles. And honestly, it's also the part of the formula that gets us tuned in to the solution that may be right in front of us. I could be sitting in that car with the sign in front of me, and I could be so consumed with my worries. And if I'm rehearsing in my mind the disaster that will happen if we don't solve this, if that's what I'm thinking about, then I could look up and I wouldn't even see the sign. It wouldn't be on my radar enough. The way we get on our radar the solutions we need is to put ourselves in that mindset of seeing it done, seeing the end that we intend. Because once you do that, and once I started praying that way, where I would first express gratitude for all that we'd been given and for the guidance and all the times that I felt like God had helped us in the past, and I reflect on that, that puts me in a state of gratitude. And then from a place of gratitude, I see the end that I want. I see the outcome that I want. And most of the time, I don't know the details. You know, we talk about needing clarity. You don't have to have clarity on how or what it's going to look like. All you need to have clarity on is how you want to feel about it. And that is a huge distinction. I want to feel relieved. I want to feel on top of things. I want to feel successful. I want to feel gratitude. I want to feel confident that we're on the right track. That's how I want to feel. And as you allow yourself to imagine feeling that way, then your radar goes up and you notice the signs that help you get there. It's a formula you can depend on. And I could, yeah.
Yes. Don't you think that um that I mean God already knows what's best for us. Like what will make us happy, what will help us, what will help that child. But we've got to get clear about it, and we can participate in those miracles by really getting clear about what we do want, what we want to see, what we want for that child. And then things can start falling into place. And God knows what we want, and that we know what we want. And and then when we get it, we can know that that he's there, and he's listening, and caring about us.
I've
Wow.
come to the conclusion that those moments of distress and worry and anxiety that we feel sometimes as homeschooling parents, I used to think of those as a sign that I'm off track. But what I've learned is that those are signs that God wants me to be asking a new question, that He has something for us, that He has an answer He wants to give us. And instead of giving us the answer outright, He gives us a reason to ask the question, so that we can receive that when we're asking it. And so those, I start to feel grateful a little more quickly when I'm feeling anxious or distressed about a path we're on. I start feeling uneasy that maybe we're not doing something right. And so I look at that, I'm like, oh, maybe you're trying to get my attention. What have you
'Cause
got for
sometimes,
me?
yes, sometimes in those moments, don't we just feel so just even alone? Like we just like there's no help and it's all going wrong. And um, but in those moments, a lot of times I think what I think that there's a trust that's going on that like it's okay. I can see that you might not be able to see that you're growing here in this moment, but you are. And and I'm right here, but we don't always feel like that. Sometimes we just feel like we're just alone and that
Yeah.
everything's going wrong, when there really is help. And if we get clear about what we want the outcome to be, that it's going to be okay.
I think we need to exercise more trust in that unseen help that is available to us. That is one thing that, my life has kind of become all about, is learning how to have that rare kind of faith that causes things to happen, that gives us access to what may otherwise be unavailable to us. I mean, resources that we need for homeschooling and just for life. Homeschooling done right requires a lot of resources. And so we have to apply this principle to get the resources we need. That's another way to tap into the miracles that are available to us. Because I am convinced 100% that God wants families to succeed. And I think people homeschool because family is so important to them and their children are so important to them and they want to do it right. And they want to give their children all the advantages that they can, with that strength, with that foundation, with the values that come with that. And I know that to do it right takes resources, and those resources are available. Sometimes you can feel like I don't know where to find them, but this process works for that. See yourself experiencing the activity or the excursion that you intend for your family. See yourself there. See yourself enjoying it. See yourself experiencing their joy while they're having that. And then ask the question, how do I get what I need to make that happen? Having seen it done, having seen it as if it's happening, letting yourself feel that your radar is going to go up and you're going to see resources, you're going to have inspired thoughts that cause conversations, that create connections with the people who have what you need, and the exchanges that can take place, the trades, the opportunities. I tell you what, I remember the first time I really put these principles to the test, we were struggling. We were struggling to make ends meet. We were having a hard time. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and that was not looking possible at the way things were going. And when we finally got an understanding of how this works, and that it's a formula and that's dependable and it's based on universal law and it's based on principles that are timeless. And if I don't have confidence in myself, I can trust in the laws or the principles that govern these things. And as I started applying myself to them, opportunities started opening up. Our income tripled. I mean, and this isn't about how to triple your income, but it is if that's what you need. If that's what you need, that's what you find. So I just can't share enough. I hope people will look into the resources that you've mentioned, Jeanette, to learn how to tap into these resources and get what you need to do what you were put here to do.
Well, I know that I took a workshop from you. It's been like 10 years ago, and I was um, you had us do this activity where we were to you I think you turned down the lights a little bit, but we were still able to like see what we were drawing. You gave us um some like materials, like some uh, they must have been crayons. I don't know exactly because, well, that's what okay, so you turned on music and we were to do this, just like go within and think about something that we wanted. And at that time I was looking for, we had been drawing plans for a house and we'd really been trying to build this house and everything. Um, and to figure it out, but it wasn't happening. And so I I drew a house, and as I was just thinking, I was in this meditative state. I was drawing what I really, really wanted. And it was this house, and I wanted fruit trees and I wanted roses. As I drew, I was just drawing this house. And I drew a house with arches. And that wasn't really the kind of house that I even had in my mind originally. Um, but it had this room off to the side, and it had a chimney with, um, with smoke coming out of it, like there was going to be a fireplace inside, and all. And it was really crazy because I found that drawing later, and that house was like almost exactly the house that I was living in. Um, and it had this house had arches, and it had roses, and it had an orchard. And I had drawn that, I had projected that out there. And not even, I mean, I guess that I was definitely doing that intentionally in the moment. But the things that I had also done an exercise in writing where I'd written it out, and everything in that writing um has happened with the house that we presently live in. We still live in the house, and I still have that drawing. I wish that I could find it right now to show you and show you a picture of our house. It looks so much like it. But everything that I drew there, everything that I wrote later and just kept going in my mind about what I wanted has happened. And that house has like everything in it, from the willow tree to the fire pit to the window seat in the kitchen. Like, who has a window seat in their kitchen? But this house has a window seat. It had a kind of a little bay window that we made easily into a window seat that my kids can sit in, or we can sit in while somebody's cooking. We can all just be there together. And I just think that's so amazing that you can decide what you want specifically, and that can happen. So
Two things I want to say about that. Two things I would like to say about that. Number one is we are always creating. We're always co-creating our futures by the way we think. And so you don't even have to do this intentionally. You're doing it anyway. But what are you thinking about? Like, are you always worried? Are you always projecting the worst case scenarios? That's the easy thing to do. It's harder to imagine what you want with consistency. That's harder to do, but that is your access to shaping your future. It
I think it's
also
even
it also
natural to think in the negative,
it
unless
is.
you can
It's
get
easier
your mind
to think
turned.
down.
It's so hard sometimes to be like, no, wait, I don't want to be thinking that. I know that this is important to be thinking positively.
Yeah. The
You have to
other
do it
thing it does is
intentionally.
it doesn't always necessarily just bring you the thing, but it always opens up the opportunity. It always provides the way. There's always a way that's orchestrated for you when you've created the idea of something. The way has been prepared. And so it's and I've seen the thing, and I'll just leave you with this last piece, and that is that most people who attempt to apply these principles and get frustrated are frustrated because they are too attached to the timing of the outcome. And so that is my one caution to you, is that as you begin to learn and apply these principles, practice them, but you will see greater success if you let go of the timing of it, because every idea seed has a gestation period, just like seeds in nature. And we can destroy the opportunity by pulling the seed out all the time to check and see how it's doing. You have to plant it and nourish it and let it grow and trust that it will happen at the right time. And it's like a woman who's expecting a baby. The baby, you want the fully formed baby. You don't want the embryo. You don't want the fetus. You want a fully formed baby. And so you have to allow it the time to grow. But just start today by imagining your 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now. How do you want to be feeling? Focus on the feeling, and everything else will work itself out.
Yes, I think that that is a really huge, huge part of it. And sometimes we can get caught up in those details. and then thinking how could that even ever happen, um, but just letting go, and knowing that there's even someone that's wiser that helps me feel better, who can see things much more clearly than I can. We had planned to build our house in a different location that would not have worked out at all. And this actually just we didn't even this house came to us this way. And so just knowing that we're in good hands, I think is important too.
For
And then
sure.
just trusting, sometimes just writing down what we want, and then setting it aside and know that it's planted and that it can come into fruition. Um,
And looking for the ways to make that happen and then taking the courage to carry it out, your part.
yes. Oh, you have so much wisdom to share. I so appreciate you um, coming on and doing this interview with me, Leslie. You've made a huge difference in my life. And for everyone out there, I will be posting on the video um, resources that you can access, the different things that Leslie has available to you, the mindset quotient test, the books, and the other resources that she's got for you, that can
We
really
have
help you to put this into practice.
we have a new training called Rare Faith Foundations that is totally free. And so that's going to be ready here soon. You'll find that at the website that Jennette's going to be posting, rarefaith.org.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much, Leslie. And
Thank
to
you.
all of you, keep going. Um, Reach out to Leslie or to me, and if you have questions. Do you do mentoring, Leslie?
We have a team of facilitators who have trainings and things that they can learn more about at the website.
Okay, wonderful. So go to the website and you can find more there. And if you need anything, if you need to just talk with me, you can book an appointment with me. And um, thank you so much for listening, and just wishing everyone the best in their homeschooling journey, and all that you're doing. And thank you again so much, Leslie, for coming on and talking with us today about these principles, these true principles.
Thank you, Jennette. See you guys later, everybody. Bye-bye.